the Sanctus Germanus Foundation, Cycles, Part 1. Sunrise, the starting point of a beautiful cycle that we call a day and night. Here we see Comet Hale-Bopp in the night sky on its cycle past Earth in 1997. It is said the passage of Comet Hale-Bopp was a celestial announcement of the approach of the new golden age. Life is filled with cycles, yet so much in life appears to move in a straight line. Sure, there might be detours along the path, but often we want to go straight from start to finish. And it's easy to think of evolution, population growth, or economic trends as moving in a straight line, even to infinity. But a closer look reveals the presence of cycles everywhere. As the planet spins, we experience day and night. As Earth circles the sun each year, we experience seasons. Water collects in lakes and oceans, evaporates, condenses in clouds, and falls to Earth again as rain or snow. People call this the water cycle or the hydrologic cycle. Sound, electricity, and light travel in cyclic waves that we can see visually with the aid of special equipment. Cycles known as radio waves bring signals to our cell phones, radios, and televisions. Microwaves can cook our food, and X-ray waves help take pictures of our bones. What is a cycle? It is the repetition of this process. First, creation or emergence of a form. Second, the flourishing or persistence of that form. Third, the dissolution or death of the form. We see this process all around us. For example, if the seed of a bell pepper is placed in the proper soil, light, and water conditions, a seedling emerges. If conditions are right, the seedling flourishes as a bell pepper plant. As this cycle winds down, the peppers are harvested and hopefully someone eats them. But the peppers also produce seeds that can be saved and planted, starting the pepper life cycle over again. The end of a cycle for one form, let's say an apple that falls from a tree, is generally the start of a cycle for another form. That apple can be a great meal for a worm. And what comes out of the back of that worm, politely called worm castings, can be food for the apple tree for the next season, starting the apple life cycle over again. What is the purpose of cycles? The unfoldment of consciousness. Cycles are how we experience time. Each cycle is an opportunity to learn, to evolve, to expand our attention, our abilities, our clarity. Our bodies run in cycles. We inhale and exhale over and over. Some say we can decide to become stronger with each passing breath. Our heart pumps and rests, pumps and rests. We work and rest. Sleep and wake. The moon cycles around the Earth every 27.3 days, resulting in the repeating cycle of the ocean tides. The planets in our solar system cycle around our life-giving sun. Life is a series of overlapping and intertwining cycles, with many happening all at the same time. Some cycles are almost infinitesimally short, like X-rays, where each cycle wave lasts 10 quadrillionths of a second. Other cycles are almost incomprehensibly long, such as our solar system revolving around the center of the Milky Way galaxy. This cycle takes 225 million years and is called a galactic year. While it's easy to understand why farmers and gardeners need to be experts at seasonal cycles, so they know precisely when to plant and when to harvest, and why migrating birds need to understand seasonal cycles to obtain food and to reach optimal breeding grounds. Why should the rest of us care about cycles? Let's use the balance of this presentation to answer that important question. First, does the presence of a cycle mean that something must happen? No, not always. Two cycles can pull in opposite directions and cancel each other out. Scientists call this wave cancellation. Or a very large cycle can overwhelm the influence of a smaller cycle, making the smaller cycle almost unnoticeable. But when two or more cycles combine, when they push or pull in the same direction, they can gain incredible power. Let's take a look at what happens when cycles combine. Many have had the good fortune to observe the beautiful cycle of ocean waves, driven mainly by the winds as they move across the surface of the earth. And we all know about the ocean tides, with the water level at seacoasts rising and falling each day. But when the winds are driven by a strong storm, the waves and the tides can combine into what is called a storm surge, where the water flows onto land in coastal areas, sometimes with devastating effect. Here are photos of the town of Tacloban in the Philippines, before and after the storm surge from Typhoon Haiyan in November 2013. Let's look at an emerging cycle. Here is a chart of the 10-year average of large earthquakes, those with a Richter scale magnitude of 6.0 or greater, that have taken place each year from 1982 through 2013. Each bar on the chart represents 1 year. Notice the steady increase in large earthquake frequency that started around 1990. This indicates an emerging, increasing cycle of earth changes. And in April and May of 2014, earthquakes of magnitude 6.0 were happening nearly once per day, further evidence that this earth change cycle is accelerating. Here is a map showing earthquakes from January 1 through April 30 of 2014. Because very large earthquakes can cause tsunamis, these are also on the rise. We saw this with the devastating Banda Aceh magnitude 9.3 quake and tsunami in the Indian Ocean in 2004, which killed over 225,000 people. And as we saw in Japan in 2011. That magnitude 9.0 quake and the resulting tsunami destroyed the Fukushima nuclear power complex, leading to its many ongoing problems. In the 20th century, there was a tsunami with a 20-foot or 6.1 meter wave height once every 10 years. In this century, there has been such a tsunami once every 2 years. This growing cycle of earth changes is confirmed by volcanic eruptions as well. 2013 set a new record for the number of above-ground volcanic eruptions in 1 year. And that does not include the growing number of undersea eruptions. As we all know, major storms and extreme weather are also on the rise. Here is a chart from global insurance giant Munich Reinsurance, showing how many extreme weather events, typhoons, floods, and so forth, caused losses for the insurance industry from 1980 through 2013. Notice that major storms and floods combined averaged about 250 per year in the 1980s. By comparison, in recent years, Major storms and floods have averaged over 700 per year, more than twice the number of the early 1980s. According to the ancient wisdom, there is a repeating cycle in which there is a cleansing of the Earth's surface by water roughly once every 10,000 years. It is this cycle that gives rise to the stories of the Great Flood found in most ancient cultures. It is looking very much like we have entered the early part of such a cleansing cycle. There is a major cycle of war and political change. It was discovered in the 1930s by a cycles researcher named Raymond Wheeler. He assembled the data about every war on the planet and every major political change from 600 BC to his present time. He found that major war or political change happens once every 25.05 years. This cycle pinpointed to the month the starts of World War I, World War II, the war in Vietnam, and the major political changes that erupted in the USSR and China in September 1989. The next major flashpoint of the Wheeler cycle arrives in the autumn of 2014. With wars flaring up in the Central African Republic, Syria, the Ukraine, Iraq, and elsewhere, and with increasing saber-rattling between China and its neighbors, Israel and its neighbors, Russia and the United States, and so forth, it is clear that this war cycle is exerting its influence once again. So, we return to the question, why should we care about cycles? Clearly, with accelerating cycles of earth changes, extreme weather, and war, each of us would be wise to take stock of our situation and determine whether moving to a safer location is advisable. We spoke of awesome effects when cycles combine. As the earth change, extreme weather, and war cycles combine with cycles of financial and political crisis, it is clear that we can expect increasing turbulence and vast change in our world. If you have found Cycles Part 1 helpful, then please stay tuned for Cycles Part 2, Advanced Cycles, in which we'll talk about how to flourish amid the turbulence in our world. And we'll use cycles to answer some big questions such as, who am I and why am I here? Namaste, and thank you for your interest. For more information, please see our website, sanctusgermanus.net. Thank you.